Well, let's see if it works. It says I got microphone turned on. Father, we're grateful for the blessings of this beautiful day. And Father, we're grateful for thy guidance in our lives. We're grateful for the privilege and opportunity that we have to be blessed to wake up and experience this physical realm of existence. And we're grateful that we recognize that that's the true blessing. Father, we're grateful for all of our friends and family that show us such love and support and help us to get through the rough times. Father, these things we pray in thy Son's name. Amen. Yeah. Well, welcome everybody to the Hobo Hideaway. This is another installment of Talking Shit with Jack Schitt. I'm your host, Jack Schitt. Anything we talk about here is strictly for educational, documentary, and entertainment purposes only. We do not ever buy, sell, or trade anything. And any opinions that are expressed here are strictly the opinions of the people behind the microphone or the people leaving comments. Everybody's welcome to leave a comment. Do your best to be polite and respectful about it. Anyway. Yeah, the rain, man. We get these funky storms coming in and stuff. You know, they've been manipulating the weather and trying to play God and control nature and all that for quite some time now. And for a long time, you know, and yeah, I don't know. Do I really want to talk about that subject? I don't know. You know, if they break the heart machine and they all the technologies go out, then the weather patterns are going to go back to normal and natural, whatever that was. You know, I don't know. Whatever that was, because they've been manipulating the weather since before I was born. They've been playing around with this crap since the early 1900s. You know, and the thing is they were probably playing around with it just to rediscover and reinvent old technologies. You know, back when the earth was covered with giant trees and everything was just humongous, and the canopy was way up in the upper atmosphere and whatnot. That all of nature itself controlled the weather. You know, you couldn't get great big, even if a big storm come ripping through on top of the canopy. The canopy was so thick and the trees were so ginormous that it wouldn't allow all of that to get down into the earth level, to the ground level. You know, so with the canopy being gone and all the big trees being gone and everything like that, they had to come up with some sort of technology or whatever to manipulate and control the weather. Of course, that was probably back when the Anunnaki first got here and they harvested all the trees and cut them all down so they can start strip mining the planet. And that's what they've been doing. They've been systematically strip mining. Yeah, there's shafts that get sunk here and there and whatever, but that's a different story. You know, the Anunnaki, they came in and just started strip mining everything, and there's evidence of that all over the world. But then when the mud floods came through, the mud floods covered a lot of that stuff in, filled in a lot of those big mine holes and whatnot. There's still, you go all over the world and you can still find places where they, straight up cut using their laser precision mining equipment and cut these awesome holes in the ground with temples inside of them and things of that nature, carved right out of the rock. But when the Anunnaki left, they left us here to fend for ourselves. And yeah, they left a lot of their old technologies and stuff, whatever. We do that all the time. It's just waste. It costs more to haul it away, and they probably thought it would all be destroyed in the mud flood. Some of it, most of it probably was, but there's a lot of it that was just buried and remained. And there were a lot of folks back then that had the foresight to see and buried things on purpose. Like that Göbekli Tepe thing. My opinion, my theory on that Göbekli Tepe thing is it was a landing pad, airport basically. It's just the way it's all set up and all the art and everything. It just looks like an airport to me. Kind of like the Denver airport, as a matter of fact. They didn't come flying in like we do. They came in and we were able to set down, up and down, and, things of that nature. So them big stones arranged in circles the way they are, with paths all leading in and out to one entrance, that makes perfect sense. It would be landing pads and an airport. I don't know, but that's what it just figures to me in my head. That's the theory I got. Anyway, but yeah, so they left, and they left a lot of their technologies behind, and we've been, fighting wars with each other all over the place, trying to get it back. And that's just it. See, when the Anunnaki left, when they were here, they were ruling the whole earth, the whole planet. They ruled it all. It was a universal governing system by the Anunnaki. All the different types of people that were all over the place, different species of human all over the planet, were just slave labor, and they were genetically modified organisms, genetically modified, genetically engineered humans created in his image, all right, in order to be able to live in those climates and regions. That's why some people have more melanin than others, because, when they are in those places closer to the equator and where it's hot all the time and sunny all the time south of the equator and whatnot, back then, because north of the equator was all covered in ice. So they had to create people with more melanin in order to survive, so they can absorb the sun and be able to, process the UV sun rays and things of that nature. And that extreme melanin helped them protect themselves from the sun's rays and the radiation and things of that nature. And as the people were placed, up by the equator, they became lighter in skin tone. When they got north to the equator, they even got lighter in skin tone, less melanin, until they got all the people up in the northern regions where it's icy all the time. The sun don't shine very often. They had to deplete us of our melanin so that we can absorb and process that sunlight easier and better, so that we'd be able to survive in those cold, long winter climates, because most of us were probably living underground and in the mine shafts. They called us cavemen, but that's not exactly true, is it? We were slaves in the mines. But that technologies that they use to control the weather and control the natural flow of everything and whatnot, that all got wiped out and destroyed. So now the people, all these warlord factions all over the world, in the post-apocalyptic world that we all live in and have lived in since forever, all right, all of that stuff, all them warlords are just scrambling for decades, for centuries, trying to acquire all this technology and advance themselves so they can leave the planet and go join the Anunnaki. The question remains, though, will the Anunnaki, will the Galactic Federation receive us as equals? Will they even allow us to join their federation? Because, see, they look down on us. They look at us as a subspecies, a mistake. You know, that's what we are to them. Just some giant petri dish experiment that went wrong, kind of took a life of its own on. You know, and they don't want us in. The majority of them don't. There are those few, like Inky. Inky was the head scientist that was involved and directly responsible for the genetic modification of the Homo sapien species on the planet to create us, you know, and or the Homo erectus species, and turned us into the Homo sapiens. Yeah, they're also the ones that were responsible for implementing all the belief structures and religious structures that we have on this planet. They're also the reason why we have all the governing systems on our planet. You know, because these are all things that they left us. And the Sumerians, when the Sumerian Empire, you know, begat, it came into existence fully formed with all the knowledge of agriculture, mathematics, commerce, governing, religion, whatever. All the different systems that are used and designed to keep us all enslaved and controlled. And so all the warlord factions that we have on the planet now, we call them governing factions. We call them countries, you know. And that's all bullshit constructs made up, not even real. All of the planet belongs to all of the people. It always has. When they came and took us over and took control of the situation and brought us into existence, they took it. Well, even though we weren't the original species on the planet, we still are of the planet. All right? So therefore, if the earth is our mother, we are of the earth, and we need to be more careful about how we treat our mother. But these warlord factions, they don't care about the earth. They don't care about the mother. So they systematically create these corporations to what? What do corporations do? Well, they provide us with services and product, right? Well, what do we do with our services and product? We don't even care most of the time. We just like, oh, we're spoiled, la, 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 let's have fun. Yeah. For what? So that we can throw all this crap in the garbage and it ends up in the landfill, and it's just more pollution. Just like all the pollution that they create as they make these products to give us that we use for a minute and then throw away. And these products are also used to keep us enslaved, because we go work our butts off to have no paycheck. After we're done paying bills and utilities, we ain't got money to, you know, hardly buy any crap. And what we do, we buy whatever crap and we use it for a minute and it goes in the garbage. So we have nothing to show for all the time and energy that we've spent trying to earn those credits every week, every pay period. You know, whether it's every week or every other week or once a month, every pay period. By the time we get done paying all the bills and the debts and whatever, we get to buy a few little trinkets and knickknacks, and then we're broke again. And they keep promising this American dream. That was a sales pitch to sell houses, by the way. Not a real thing. Just an ideology, just like all of it. None of it's real. It's all just ideologies and theologies. None of it's real. But we all give it the validity that they want us to give it, because we believe their brainwashing that they give us. We believe the stories they tell us to be true. You know, I talked about this the other day. This is the greatest story that's ever been told. The #1 bestseller in the world. The greatest story ever told. But it was written by men. And then it was translated by men, changed by men, rewritten by men. Things were deleted by men. Things were added to it by men. And it's just a story by men. And to be honest with you, my favorite, absolute favorite version of this story is Star Wars, the George Lucas version. In that one, your Jesus Christ character is Darth Vader. Imagine that. I also like the our Tolkien version with the Lord of the Rings saga whole thing. And imagine, guess what? Who the Jesus Christ character in that one is? Is Gollum, Smeagol. All the evidence is there, the way it was written, the way it was all laid out. It's the same story. It's the story of how each of us have two parts within us. It's the hero's journey. He starts out with good intention and but he's corrupted by the power and the control. Corrupted completely. And even after he was corrupted, you even see where Smeagol's down there in the cave fighting with himself. Gollum's the one side and Smeagol's the other side, and he's fighting between the dark and the light. Even in this story, when you finally read the whole thing completely to the end, you get there to that Revelations chapter 22, verse 16, where Jesus is speaking and he says straight up, he is in fact the morning star. Whereas throughout the whole rest of the story, it describes the morning star as being Satan, the darkness. All right, so you got Christ being the light and Satan being the darkness, and it's the same person, the same entity, both sides, yin and yang. That's what all that story's always been about. But people want to preach it as if it is truth and fact, but it's not. There's nothing in our world, in our lives, that is truth and fact, except that we have to breathe air, we have to eat good food, we have to drink clean water, we have to have sunlight, fire for energy and warmth, and we have to have the earth for which to live on and grow our food. The elements, earth, wind, fire, and water. Those are the basic elements that give us and sustain this life on this planet. And the corporations, the governing factions that are not legit, all of them, even the corporation of the United States of America. It's not a country, it's a corporation. You can look that up yourself. I highly recommend it. True fact. Just good business, man. Isn't that what the Indian trading company said? Just good business. Yep. And that's what all it is. It's just good business. That's all they care about is business. And they brainwash us to participate in it instead of living freely the way we're supposed to. And no, we're not free. All right? We don't have the freedom to grow our own food on a regular basis anymore. We don't have the freedom to collect our rainwater and harvest our rainwater to be utilized. We don't have the freedom to put in a well and suck the water out of the earth from the well. Oh, I know there's a lot of people out there saying, yeah, we do. You go buy the right land and the right home. No, even that they're making illegal. Systematically for the last 6-7 years now, they have been going across, making it completely illegal for anybody to be off grid, to homestead a land. They're changing the rules, changing the laws, because they don't want people to be independent. They don't want people to be self-sufficient. I've been watching a lot of nomad channels lately. I really enjoy them. That's the lifestyle I used to live, and I really do miss it. There was true freedom there. You know, now not completely 100% because you still got vehicles and vehicle maintenance and yeah, there's a lot of lands out there that you can just go camp out on for free, or there used to be. But anyway, they're still systematically shutting those down. Even BLM land is being shut down. You know? And yeah. You know, the BLM land was supposed to be free for all the people, for all the citizens, for all the people to be able to enjoy. But the government maintains it and controls it, and therefore the government won't let anybody come camp out there anymore. In a lot of them places anyway. There are still a lot of places down in the Southwest that are still wide open enough that people are able to get out there and gather and camp out and start their own little intentional communities. But it's only a matter of time before they all get chased out and run off by the government. Because, see, the government wants everybody to pay because the government is a corporation. If you're not earning money for them, then you're not living up to your end of the deal of being a slave. That's the way that works. You know? And the thing that frustrates me the most in all of this realm and existence is ignorance. And it's the fact that the people choose to be ignorant and stay in their ignorance. The information is available. We live in the information age, man. It's all coming to light, and it's free and available for everybody. We don't need gatekeepers anymore. There's no reason for gatekeepers anymore. They've lost their control and their power, and they're flailing. Oh boy, they're panicking, and they're flailing all over the place, trying to figure out how to keep control over the masses and everything and stuff. But the people are starting to wake up and realize the realities of everything. And it's shattering everything that they ever thought they knew. Their whole perceptions and concepts of what they thought was real is being completely blown away and shattered. And it's, to a lot of people, it's completely devastating. Most of the people that are spreading and perpetuating these lies and these ignorances and keeping people in the dark, they know the truth. The majority of them, they absolutely know the truth. But they keep people blinded and ignorant because that way they can control them better. They can manipulate them better. It's always been that way. You know, I like to watch old Western movies, and even in the old Western movies, you know, they talk about how, you know, they came over, these great big cattle barons or whatever, and they took great big swaths of land, and anybody who tried to come in a homestead, even though the government changed the law saying the homestead, this area is open for homesteading and whatnot, the big cattle rancher said, oh, hell no, man. They went in and just killed everybody and wiped everybody out and said, this is my land. Of course, they all got wiped out eventually, you know, because the military came in and the government brought their soldiers in and they're, you know, took them all out, brought in the thugs. Yeah, wiped them out. Serious. I feel sorry for the ignorant most of the time just because of the way they want to stay in the ignorance. You know, I guess it's just more comfortable to stay in the ignorance, to give up our freedoms and our rights for comforts and safeties. And it's, you know, not really that comfortable and it's not really safe. But that's the delusion that they sell us each and every single time. So yeah, when all the equipment and all the technologies fell again, the storms will rage and the tidal waves will hit. Because we're going to get a lot of that right now anyway with all this tectonic activity happening. I heard about there was a big earthquake down in Cuba yesterday. And evidently they felt the seismic tremors clear into Florida. And it might have even triggered a tsunami. I don't know. I haven't heard anything today about any of that stuff yet. So we'll check on that later on and find out. Anyway. My sleep schedule's changed up. I'm awake at nighttime now most of the time. So, you know, most all night long, in fact. And I've been sleeping in the daytime. It's pretty normal. When the weather gets too hot to be outside with the humidity factor, it's hard to breathe out there. It's hard to function. I do my yard work early in the morning or late in the evening. And during the appropriate noise time. See, that's another thing, you know, we live in these congested, crowded township cities and whatnot, and the neighbors are all right on top of us and whatnot, and so they got to have city ordinances and regulations about how you keep your yard and when you can make noise and when you're allowed to use power tools and so forth and whatnot. If I'd purchased a place out there in the country a little bit of ways, I could have been running power tools all night long without any problem. I'd have had nobody out there regulating me. You know, and that's what I really wanted to do, but the wife wanted to live in the township, in the city. You know, and just like any other good husband, I just wanted my wife to be happy. Anyway. But we're here, we're locked in, and now this is what we got to deal with. So this is my schedule now, is to get up. I do a little bit of yard work in the early mornings, and then after she gets herself going, I go lay down and take a nap. I sleep until whenever, and then I get up and function a little bit and do whatever chores in the middle of the day that need to be done. And I go lay down and take a nap. And then I get up in the evening time and have dinner and whatever, or breakfast or whatever you want to call it. You know, get up and have a meal, and then put her to bed, or I get up and I have a meal and do whatever, do some more yard work, and then I put her to bed. After she gets tucked in, then I piddle around working on whatever I can that doesn't require making noise. And now most of that time that just includes running videos. So I've been putting up people's videos on my computer and running at least 4 to 6 videos at a time to give people their view counts. And I've changed my habits on that too. I'm not going to come participate in anybody's lives anymore. I got 2 or 3, a few, that are my really good close friends that I will go in and I will click on their lives and run their lives and say my hellos and then step out. I don't hang out in the chat anymore. I don't want to participate in the chat anymore. I don't care about all that nonsense. I've already checked everybody's channel out. Everybody that's been in the chat, everybody that's around, I've checked out your channels. And if I like you, then you're on my playlist. And if I don't like you, I'm not subscribed to you anymore. It's that simple. Somebody out there I heard just now screaming, you can't do that. You have to support everybody. That's a lie. All right. See, that's one of those ideologies that's created in order to control and manipulate people, that you have to do something. Well, if you want people to support you, then you got to support them. Well, I don't want people to support me. I support myself. I provide for myself. I take care of myself. All right. I'm an independent person, an independent contractor. Nobody in this internet world owns me at all. I don't owe them anything, and nobody owes me anything. That's how that really works. That's the real world. That's the reality. All that other stuff, man, that mentality of, we're going to start all these little groups, and we'll have other groups that come off of them, and everybody will subscribe to everybody, and it'll all funnel up like that up into the top. Well, that's a pyramid scheme, multi-level marketing scam. The people at the bottom are the ones that they pay and pay and pay and do all the work. It's the ones at the top that sit back and collect all the dues. I don't participate in those things. Oh, I got suckered into damn near every single one of them out there. And that they're all the same. It's all the same. And it's just like every religion out there. Multi-level marketing scam. The people at the top are the ones that collect all the bonuses and benefits. And they're not working for God. They're not working for any spiritual entity. They're working for themselves. They're working to keep control and manipulation over the people every single time. This is why I don't join clubs. This is why I don't join groups. It's one of the reasons anyway. I don't join clubs. I don't join groups. I don't join other people's tribes or whatever. And most of these little groups are all family, man. I noticed that too within my research of my internet searching and whatnot. You got the pastor, preacher man with his congregation all in one group, and all their family members too. And then they spread out and bring their friends in, but their friends got to stay on the outside. And then their friends come in, they got to stay on, and so forth. And then, yeah. But that inner circle, that one a cult leader and his disciples, and then their minions, and then their followers. Multi-level marketing at its best. It's a scam. It's a con. And everybody running those multi-level marketing organizations and entities are grifters, con artists. They're the ones you got to watch out for. They're the ones that are going to bleed you dry of your life savings and take everything you own. And they're going to convince you that you need to do that in order to have your soul saved. And that's a lie. All right? The divine rests within all of us. It lives here in us through our chakras. We all have the availability and the capability to access and commune with the divine. We don't need gatekeepers anymore. We never did. But the gatekeepers are losing their control and their power because the people are waking up. The people are waking up and they're realizing the truth. And they're seeing through all of the bullshit, the lies and the deceptions. They're like, hey, wait a minute. How come we're paying your mortgage and your grocery bill, but we can't afford, we're getting ready to lose our house and get foreclosed on. We can't feed our children or clothe our children because we're giving you our tithing. For what? So to save a place in heaven? Heaven and earth is here, always. I mean, not heaven and earth. I apologize for that. Heaven and hell is what I meant to say. Heaven and hell is here. Here. It's here. Both sides live and dwell within all of us all the time. Right? Like with the natives and the ancients and the shamans and all that taught and preached. We all have two entities within us always, the dark and the light. And they're constantly at war, constantly at war. And the one that wins is the one you feed the most. And it's not an eternal win. It's a temporary win because that wobble is consistent and always, always. So when we're always picking the light dominates. When we're always picking the dark dominates. But we cannot ever sustain always. None of us. We have our good days and our bad days. We have our good moments and our bad moments. Therefore, sometimes we're dwelling in the light and sometimes we're dwelling in the dark. It's just part of the way it is. Oh, instead of when you're in the dark, instead of saying, oh, I'm doing the wrong thing, I'm sinning, and no, bullshit. It's just a flow. It's a natural flow. A lot of it's environmental, in fact. The solar flare activity is a big factor in mood swings and things of that nature. The weather's a big factor in the mood swings. The seasons changing is a big factor in the mood swings. All of that they tell us is a lie. All these mental illnesses that they label us with, depression and all that crap, is a lie. Even them diagnosing me with paranoid schizophrenia because I believe all this stuff I say, that's a lie. Because I'm paranoid for a reason. Why? Because they really are out to get us. They really are trying to hurt us. They really are trying to keep us enslaved. It's obvious to even little children see it. I've known this stuff since I can remember. My earliest memories, I think, were when I was 4 years old. And even then, I can see through the bullshit of authoritarianism. I didn't like it and rebelled against it with my parents. You got to live by our rules if you're going to live in our house. Well, heck, then I'm going to leave your house. I remember the first time I tried to run away from home. Legitimately, I was 11 years old. Didn't get very far. Tried again when I was 13 years old. Didn't get very far. Finally, between the age of 16 and 17, I just plain quit coming back. I ended up coming back a few times here and there as a young adult through my 20s. You know, because at that time I was trying to live the way that they wanted me to live. I was trying to go with the flow of society and the system. You know, I even went to work at the phone company because my dad kept pushing and pushing and pushing. Finally, I was like, all right, Dad. Of course, I had to get court ordered to get medical and dental insurance for the kids. So, whatever, the system was forcing me into being enslaved. So, I had to join the system. After Dad passed, I left the phone company. And then, you know, as far as the insurance and all that goes, they took away my parental rights, including the right to pay child support and provide insurance. My kids were already teenagers, almost legal adults. I didn't care. I told them, I'm not taking your parenting classes. I'm not complying to your crap. If that means I have no legal rights to my children, then so be it. My children were already at the age where they were independent, and they were already telling me that I had no authority over them. Okay, if I have no authority over you, then I don't no longer have to provide for you. It's that simple. Oh, that pissed my kids off, of course. Then they just didn't want nothing to do with me, and still to this day they're mad at me for that. And I'm pretty dang good okay with that, for sure. That's the problem with our whole society, is convinced everybody that life is owed to them, that a living is owed to them. That's a lie. That's a falsehood. We all got to do work. There's always work to be done. Even those of us that are disabled and hard to get around and hard to do things, there's work to be done. We got to still cook our food and clean up our messes and whatever. There's chores to be done. You know, if we lived in the way that we should be living naturally with the earth, we'd be out hunting and gathering and foraging, and there'd always be work to do. Even in those tribal communities, the elderly and the disabled still functioned and did things. They weaved baskets. You know, they ground up corn and maize on a stone. Yeah, with the what's it called? Pestle and mortar. Yeah, there was always something to be done. There's still always something to be done. At any rate, I don't even know what I talked about. It's good stuff, man. How's your weather? Today it's hot and humid here. Yep, I've done some things already and all that whatnot, and I've been up a good majority of the night, and I did take a nap for a little while, and then now I'm up again and functioning. I ran to the post office. There was only thing there was the denial of my appeal for my disability. That's the only thing that was in my. Oh, there was some advertiser. Here, you're denied your disability, but here's advertiser. Go buy some crap with money you ain't got. Yeah. You know, I paid into that system and paid into that system and paid into that system my whole entire life. My whole entire life, adult life, paid into that system. That money is rightfully mine. I paid into it. And now they deny me of it. Why? Because they don't care about me. They don't want me to be okay. They just, I can't earn them any more money, so I'm worthless to them. Cast away, discarded, disposable. That's the way the corporations look at all of us, as property, as assets, as disposable. And the only way that we're going to break these bonds of slavery is to quit living in the cities, quit living in the corporations' world, quit participating with the corporations, break free of the corporations. And it's going to have to be everybody all at once, because one or two people at a time, that ain't going to do it. That's only going to free those one or two people, not the whole race. You got to get rid of the beast system, which is the economic system. We need to go back to living with the land and helping each other out right on an individual level. That's what I do. I help people on an individual level with my YouTube channel. I don't help whole groups. If I'm supporting one person that belongs to a group, all right, community or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what your labels and titles are out there. I'm trying to figure that out. But it's like, you're so vague and whatnot in your descriptions of these titles. I just can't figure it out. I don't think anybody can. So I don't help out a whole group of people all at once. I help out individuals. Individuals. Because it's the individual that matters. That's the important thing, not groupthink mentality. Groupthink mentality is what's destroying us, that's what keeps us enslaved. But it's the individual thought process, the individual thinking, the individual creativity. That's what's important. And those are the people I'm looking for in this internet world, in the YouTube world. I'm looking for the ones that are independent thinkers, the ones that are out there doing their thing and not trying to worry about likes and subscribes and comments or any of that BS, watch hours or any of that. Getting monetized by YouTube is not a big reward. It's not a big thing to be all excited about. It's a lie. It's a lie. Ask anybody who does get monetized for YouTube. They got to, by the time they get their channel built up, they got this whole crew of people they got to pay. They got all this overhead they got to pay. And any monies they are getting from YouTube gets spent on that overhead. It's not paying their bills. It's not doing anything for them. And they're working their butts off more than they would just give it up and go and working for the corporations. People that are out there working for the corporations making a 9-to-5 job, job, whatever, paycheck job, are making more money for less work than people who are pushing and hustling YouTube or any social media for that matter. Yeah. And the only ones that are actually surviving and going to survive in the YouTube world are the ones that have a different hustle. A bigger hustle. The YouTube is just a side thing. It's a thing. I'm getting notifications, man. I guess I better hang up on this rambling nonsense. Oh, I'm sure I can go forever. Yeah, my healthcare people want to poke and prod at me. That's what that is. Holy crap, I've only been here for 45 minutes already. What the heck? All right, well, that's my talking shit ramble of today. I hope you all enjoyed it. And yeah, go find something fun to do today. Enjoy your life. Try to be free. Real freedom. Yeah, that means don't spend money. That's real freedom. Spending money is slavery. Freedom is creating for yourself, thinking for yourself, building and making things for yourself. That's freedom. At any rate, good luck to each and every single one of you out there. And until next time, remember, kindness is the key. And I love you. Later.